All right. So the first thing when you're doing a perspective landscape is you want to create the horizon line. The horizon line is usually in the middle of your artwork, but it can be a little higher or a little lower. I'm going to put mine in the middle. So this is our horizon line. We're going to label it. This is where all objects that you could see disappear from view. Next, we're going to put in the vanishing point. The vanishing point is the last thing you can see on the horizon line. So we're going to put our vanishing point in the middle and label it vanishing point. All right, from the vanishing point, we're going to draw a highway that goes from the very, very far back, far distance, up to where we would be standing. And this is called the foreground if it's closer to us. The background is along the vanishing point and the horizon line. So it looks sort of like a skinny start to an A, the letter A. And we're going to draw some lines down coming up the middle of the road. So as you draw each line, they're going to get further apart and longer as you imagine they get closer to you. So this is the line of the road. This area in the front of, or the bottom of your artwork is called the foreground. That's what's closest to us. This area in the middle is called the middle ground. And anything way far back towards the horizon line is called the background. Okay, so we have a very basic landscape with a road, and that's it so far. So we're going to add a few more things to give the illusion of space. The first thing we're going to add is a pine tree along the road. So you're going to draw a line vertical on the paper. So your vertical line is going to be straight up and down. So if you were holding your pencil along the paper, it's going to be a 90-degree angle with the paper, the line. Vertical. So this is the trunk of our tree. We're going to add some leaves. It's going to be a pine tree. So I will draw some lines coming off the trunk and scribble a little bit to make it look like a pine tree or a fir tree. And same thing on the other side. One side could be lighter. You could use just hatching lines. This is hatching lines. All right, so one side is darker. Now we're going to add some mountains in the background above the horizon line. So I'm going to put a line of jagged mountains as if they're very far away. They're going to touch the vanishing point and then come back up on the right-hand side. And this is a row of mountains. I'm going to put a few more mountains coming in as though they're very close to us. So I'm going to put one mountain in from this side, as if this is a large cliff in the foreground. And you'll see why we do that in a few minutes. Okay, we can add a few more trees. So if we're going to add a tree in the background, it's going to be smaller than the tree in the foreground. So I'm going to put a small vertical line in the background and turn that into another fir tree. Maybe I'll add another tree here behind the rocks. It's going to come up a little past the mountains. And imagine that the leaves of the tree are behind this rock. So I'm going to do some hatching on this side. All right. So we have a little scene here. Maybe we can put some rocks in the foreground, some little boulders. Okay, and this is our background. All right, now we need to add some values. So in the sky, I'm going to do a gray scale sky. So the whole sky is going to be gray. Long strokes with my pencil to make it one consistent gray. And I'm going to use my finger to smudge the pencil and blend it a little bit so it's more consistent. All right, now you can use your eraser to add some clouds into the sky. So you're actually now drawing with your pencil eraser to create some clouds in the sky. Okay. I'm gonna just fix the light on the paper. Okay, now we're gonna shade our mountains. So the mountains in the foreground are going to be the darkest. So I'm gonna create a really quick value scale over here with 5 value steps. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The 5th value step is going to be very, very dark, the darkest that I can make with a pencil. The first box is going to be as light as I can possibly press. The middle will be about medium pressure with my pencil. And these 2 boxes, this one will be a little darker than the first. And this is a little darker than the middle, but not as dark as the darkest one. I'm going to number these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I'm going to make my first boulder a value scale of 5. So I'm going to shade it as dark as I possibly can press with the pencil. Okay, the rock behind it is going to be a 3 or 4, somewhere in between, in the middle. And the mountains in the very far background are going to be a 1, similar to the color of the sky. This is called atmospheric perspective, when the objects that are further away look lighter and duller in the distance. So we're going to label this atmospheric perspective. And you can use some arrows to show what we're referring to. So the only problem here is I don't want to see the line of the mountains because in reality you wouldn't see those lines. So I'm going to blend at the top to make sure it matches the outline value. You can also add some lines into your mountains because they are not perfectly flat. They have lots of jagged parts. Rocks are very jagged. And sometimes they go one way, sometimes they go a different way. Okay, and we're gonna shade these mountains a 1 or 2 again. Just blending the line, the outline with the rest of the mountains. Maybe this is darker here, this one. Okay, now this mountain is gonna be, can you guess? What number value will it be? It's going to be about a 3. It's not quite in the background and it's not in the foreground, so it's a middle. So I'm going to press medium strength with the pencil. And I'm going to go the other way now. All right, and finally, the cliff that's closest to us is going to be, what do you think? Is it going to be darker or lighter than the background? So it's going to be about a 5 on the value scale. Very dark because it's closer to us. Okay, oh, I forgot these little boulders. They're going to be the same value as this rock. They're in the same area. Maybe I'll leave a little spot white to make it look shiny. And I'll put a few lines in here to help show the difference between this rock and this rock. All right, oh, and the last thing I need to do is shade the road going into the distance because highways are usually gray. So it's going to be darker gray in the foreground, and as I get further away, I'm going to press less and less hard. It'll look lighter, lighter, lighter. And maybe a few lines this way as well. Okay, I'm going to blend this with my finger a little bit. Okay, so the big ideas of drawing in perspective, is there is a foreground, a middle ground, and a background. There's a vanishing point along the horizon line where all the objects disappear. Everything closer to the vanishing point is smaller. Everything in the foreground appears to be bigger. There's also an important idea of atmospheric perspective, in which objects that are in the foreground are darker and get lighter and lighter as you get further away. I hope you enjoyed this, and happy drawing in perspective.